Chapter 5, Blood on White Lace. I barely slept that night. I sat in my apartment, the wedding dress still boxed in the corner like a corpse in a coffin, my mind spiraling through everything I'd learned. Evelyn had vanished. She had been wearing this dress when she disappeared. She had been on her way to see my mother. And now someone had been watching me. The worst part? I couldn't bring myself to tell Daniel. I wanted to believe he wasn't involved. That he couldn't be. But Claire's words echoed in my head. She thought Daniel was following her. I was supposed to marry him in 2 weeks, but first I had to know the truth. The next morning, I drove to my mother's house. I needed answers. When I stepped inside, I found her standing by the kitchen sink, staring out the window like she'd been waiting for me. She didn't even turn around. "You went to Claire, didn't you?" I swallowed. "Yes." She exhaled shakily. "Then you know." "I know pieces," I said, "but not everything." I moved closer. "Tell me, Mom, please." She turned to face me, and for the first time, I saw something in her eyes I hadn't noticed before. Fear. "I should have burned that dress," she whispered. A chill ran down my spine. "Why didn't you?" She looked down at her trembling hands. "Because I wanted proof." I felt my stomach drop. "Proof of what?" She swallowed hard. "That they did to Evelyn what I was afraid they did to the woman before her." The room seemed to close in around me. I didn't even realize I was gripping the edge of the counter until my knuckles turned white. "You mean the woman Richard was having an affair with?" My voice was barely above a whisper. Mom nodded. "She wore that dress too?" A pause. "Then yes." I felt like I was going to be sick. This dress, it wasn't just a dress. It was a pattern, a cycle, history, repeating itself. And every woman who wore it had disappeared. I barely made it home before the panic set in. I threw open the closet, yanking the box from the shelf, ripping off the lid like the dress itself had teeth. The ivory lace spilled out, soft and delicate, a thing meant for beauty. But all I could see was death. I stared at it, my breath coming in sharp, shallow gasps. And then I saw it. A stain, tiny, almost invisible against the white fabric. I grabbed the dress with shaking hands, bringing it closer to the light. No, 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 no. It was blood. Old, faded, but unmistakable. A memory surfaced. Daniel's face when he saw the wedding album, the way he told me to drop it, the flicker of something dark in his eyes. I stumbled back, the dress slipping through my fingers. Had Evelyn bled in this dress? Had she fought? Had she screamed? And if she had, where was she now? The door behind me clicked. I whirled around. Daniel stood in the doorway, his eyes flicked to the dress on the floor, then to me. For a moment he didn't speak. Then softly, "Lena." His voice was careful, controlled, like he already knew what I had found, like he had been waiting for this moment. I opened my mouth, maybe to scream, maybe to demand answers. But then he stepped inside and locked the door. Chapter 6, The Secret No One Was Supposed to Find. The click of the lock sent a shiver through me. I took a slow step back, my heel pressing into the discarded wedding dress. Daniel's eyes were unreadable, but there was something off about him, something I hadn't noticed before. He looked at me the way a hunter looks at something caught in a trap. "Why are you locking the door?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He took a step closer. "You've been busy," he said instead, his gaze flicking to the dress, then back to me. "Going through old photos, talking to Claire, digging into things you don't understand." My pulse pounded. You just what, Lena?" His voice was still calm, but it was a thin kind of calm, stretched too tight. "I just wanted the truth," I choked out. Daniel exhaled sharply and ran a hand through his hair. He looked almost frustrated. Then he crouched down, picked up the dress carefully, and ran his fingers over the faded stain. For a long, heavy moment, he just stared at it. And then he murmured, almost too softly, "You shouldn't have found this." I was trapped. Daniel was between me and the only exit. My mind was racing. What did I actually know? Claire believed Evelyn was dead. My mother believed she had been silenced, but no one had proof, only theories, whispers, and the dress. The dress that had blood on it. I needed to stay calm, play dumb. I swallowed hard. "Daniel, just tell me the truth." His expression flickered, something between regret and something much darker. Then he said, "Come with me." I hesitated. He must have seen the fear in my eyes because he let out a small, humorless laugh. "Lena, if I wanted to hurt you, don't you think I would have already?" My stomach twisted. That wasn't exactly reassuring, but still, I followed him. Out of the bedroom, down the stairs, out into the night. And when I realized where he was leading me, I nearly collapsed. We were standing in front of the Reed estate, his family's house, his father's house. It loomed in the darkness, cold and silent, its windows like black, unseeing eyes. I don't. My throat was dry. Daniel, why are we here? He didn't answer. Instead, he led me around the side of the house, past the garden, past the old stone fountain, past the towering trees, to the greenhouse. The one I had never been inside. The one that sat at the farthest edge of the estate, its glass fogged and streaked with age. Daniel reached into his pocket, pulled out a key, and unlocked the door. Then he turned to me. Are you sure you want to know? I almost turned and ran, but it was too late for that now. So I squared my shoulders, swallowed my fear, and stepped inside. The smell hit me first. Damp earth, rotting leaves, something else I couldn't quite place. First, the greenhouse was overgrown, vines creeping over the glass, the air thick with humidity. But Daniel wasn't looking at the plants. He walked straight to the farthest corner where the floor was different, where instead of dirt, there was a section of freshly turned soil. The blood drained from my face. No, 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 no. Daniel turned to me. His voice was quiet. This is what you were looking for, isn't it? I took a step back, my entire body shaking. You. My voice broke. You killed her? His expression darkened. Is that what you think? I couldn't breathe. You brought me here, I choked out, pointing at the disturbed earth. You showed me. To protect you. His words stopped me cold. He took a slow step forward, closing the distance between us. My father, he said, his voice eerily calm, is a very powerful man, Lena. I felt sick. He crouched down and pressed his hand into the soil. Evelyn was getting too close, asking too many questions, just like you. I felt the blood drain from my face. Did you? My voice shook. Did you help him? Daniel looked up at me, his eyes unreadable, and then finally, the truth. I didn't kill her. His voice was cold, hollow, but I know who did. I felt like I was going to be sick. Daniel exhaled, glancing at the house. We don't have much time. My father... A sound cut through the night. A low creak. The back door of the estate had just opened. Daniel shot up, his expression turning sharp. Lena, too late. A shadow moved toward us, tall, broad, a man's silhouette. And then a voice. Low, dangerous. Richard Reed. I told you, Daniel. My entire body locked up. You should have let her go. Chapter 7. The Wedding That Almost Was. Richard Reed stepped into the moonlight. For the first time, I saw his face clearly. Sharp features, graying hair, the cold calculation in his dark eyes. The air around us shifted, thick with something heavy, something I had no name for. I had never feared this man before. But now I understood why my mother had run from him. Daniel's entire body tensed beside me. Dad, he said carefully, it's over. Richard tilted his head. Is it? His gaze flicked to me, and a slow, chilling smile stretched across his face. You've been very, very busy, haven't you, Lena? I couldn't speak. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. The freshly turned soil at my feet felt like it was pulling me under. Richard sighed, shaking his head. I told you to leave it alone, told your mother the same thing all those years ago, but you Carters so damn stubborn. I clenched my fists. Where is Evelyn? Richard's expression didn't change. Gone. A chill ran through me. I took a shaky breath. Gone where? His smile widened, but there was nothing warm in it. Does it matter? My stomach twisted. Did you kill her? I whispered. Richard exhaled, almost like he was bored of the conversation. Kill? Such a strong word. He took a slow step toward me. Let's just say Evelyn had a habit of asking too many questions, like you. Daniel stepped between us. You're not touching her. For the first time, Richard's expression flickered. Something like disappointment. You always were weak, he muttered. Daniel didn't move. Maybe. He reached into his pocket and pulled something out. A phone. Richard's face darkened. I recorded everything, Daniel said. Your confession, your threats, it's already uploaded. He tilted his head. If anything happens to Lena or to me, the police get it. The press gets it. Everyone gets it. Richard's jaw clenched. For the first time, I saw something in his expression I never thought I would. Uncertainty. Daniel smirked. Checkmate. We left. We walked away from the greenhouse, from Richard, from everything, and he let us go. Because now, he had no choice. For the first time in his life, Richard Reed had lost, and Daniel had made sure of it. I didn't go home that night. I drove straight to my mother's house, collapsed into her arms, and cried. The next morning, I called off the wedding. Daniel didn't fight me on it. I understand, he said softly, but before I left, I had to ask, if you knew what he did, why didn't you tell me? Daniel sighed, because I was afraid. I frowned. Of him? Daniel hesitated. Then softer. Of becoming him. I had no answer for that, so I just nodded, whispered goodbye, and walked away. A week later, I got a call from Claire. You're not going to believe this, she said. They found something. My breath hitched. It's what? She hesitated. A body. I closed my eyes. Evelyn, a long silence. Then, no. My eyes flew open. What? Claire's voice was shaky. They found 2 bodies, Lena. Cold dread spread through my veins. The first was from decades ago. My blood ran cold. Daniel's father didn't just kill Evelyn, she whispered. He did this before. The breath left my lungs. The dress, the blood, the cycle. It wasn't just a pattern. It was a curse, and I had almost been next. I never saw Daniel again, but sometimes I still dream of that dress and the women who wore it before me and the ones who never made it out alive. That, my friends, is the story of the wedding dress that hid a deadly secret. Who would have thought that a simple gown could unravel a web of lies, disappearances, and murder? What would you have done in Lena's situation? Let me know in the comments. And if you love crazy plot twists, chilling mysteries, and stories that keep you on the edge of your seat, then make sure to smash that like button and hit that subscribe button so you never miss a story like this. Because trust me, there's more where that came from.